So, Justin, if you're ready, I'm gonna pass the torch on to you.
You know it, VRSTY dropping their this is their album, like their debut album. Welcome Home. And I say debut, and it's totally not. It's actually their third album. I lied. Sorry. But no, this is their album. Welcome Home. And man, did they knock it out of the park? There's a lot of variety in this.
I think I'm just gonna get my opinion out of the way first. I feel the same way Derek feels about Caskets, where I like what I'm hearing, but it's just like I need a little more, you know?
Jacob, I actually think I'm with you here. Because
we're all Derek's.
Well, actually, no, because my opinion differs from you guys.
Hell yeah!
I think this is a really good album.
Okay, good.
I think this is gonna sound so bad, but I think this is a really good album full of a lot of forgettable songs. Similar to Set Your Sails,
I'll give it to you.
where I think
die.
But like I think overall this album like is consistently better than the Set Your Sails album. It just does not have the same peaks. Like outside of like the 4 singles and then the title track Welcome Home has a really solid chorus and then Never Again has a really solid chorus. A lot of the other songs on here kind of fell off for me really fast, unfortunately. And it's not that they're bad. I think contrary to all of the singles we got this month, which was quality over quantity, I almost feel like this album is more of quantity over quality. Not to say that they didn't care about the 14 songs on here, but a lot of them don't stand out the way that I want them to. And if we are going to bring it back to Caskets, where like a lot of those songs, they have their sound, but they all have their moments that make each song memorable to me. Like that chorus of Glass Heart and Drowned in Emotion, the little bridge breakdown of Drowned in Emotion. There's stuff like that that make each song a little bit distinctly memorable, where I feel like, for me, this album is lacking in that department a little bit.
See, the
Not
problem
to say
is that
I didn't like this album, because I very much enjoyed this album. But it doesn't have the staying power that I was hoping it would, and it certainly would not have made my top 10 albums of the year, which I was thinking it had a shot at doing before it got delayed.
The problem with Caskets, I think VRSTY kind of solves, is I think Caskets, a lot of their songs is very similar. Instrumentation with vocal delivery, like vocal range. Whereas in this one, I think Joey Tyler does incredible job with not only mixing the R&B with rock, but also a little metal here and there, especially in Lovesick. Like that is easily my favorite song on the album in terms of like general scene music. But We Always has actually been like the one that I've had on repeat the most out of the album, just because I love the vibe in it. It's very catchy. King of Pop is also good. Hush. I feel like there's a lot of variety in this album. I wouldn't say it's a good complete package just because of that issue that you've got with quantity over quality. I do think some of these songs can be left off and you wouldn't be really missing much. Personally, for me, I think that would be Only Sad and Gravity.
Yeah,
I'd probably no.
That's only because I haven't gone back to them. That's only because I haven't gone back to them. That's not.
I would probably go for Hush and Only Sad. I would
God! Those are my 2 favorite songs.
Hush, I love. Hush is really good. But Only Sad, I feel like I have to get back to, because I haven't given the album a full listen again. I've only had spinning the 4-track lineup of We Always, Welcome Home, Love Sick, and Hush.
Man,
I actually, one last thing I want to mention. I do
Yeah,
want to
yeah, yeah.
make note that when I say it's quantity over quality, I want to emphasize that I don't have problems with albums that are 14 or 15 tracks long. Like, we're getting that Bad Omens album later this month in February, and that's
Yep.
like 15 tracks, I think. I don't have an issue with that if there's like a lot of songs on an album. But to me, a lot of these songs struggle to distinct themselves, and that's where my problem lays. Not in the amount of songs, but in the quality of each individual song, so to say, to produce memorable moments for me, which is a very individual type of thing.
Yeah, I'll echo that, but I think my choices would be a lot different. And I mentioned every single time we talked about one of the singles, and it was that I had a lot of I guess hope for Varsity to, when Black came out. I'm like, this band is going to become something special, and I can't wait to see what the album does. And we got Finesse, Soul, Closer, and Sick as singles, right? The first 4
Yep,
tracks in the
yep.
album. I wasn't sold at all. I mean, I didn't spend really any time outside of the first like couple of listens to those singles. And honestly, I think if I had to cut anything from the album, it'd be the first 3 tracks. I think that they're the weakest ones on here by far. I I had low expectations going in, and then I passed Sick, and Sick, I believe, was the first single,
Yeah.
right? I didn't remember much about it. Going back to it and having spent time away with it, it's actually pretty good.
Yep.
And was the first track on here that I saved. Um, if I had to make a 10-track album, I'm cutting Finesse, Soul, Closer, and Paranoid, and suddenly, like, if these songs stick with me the way that they have, then this is also entering, like, the top 10 discussion. Um, and I think what it is that when this when Varsity makes post-hardcore, they're just throwing themselves in the ring with every other post-hardcore band that's got a really good singer and talented instrumentalist. Where, something like a Caskets, where, everything sounds good, but there's
I
a
see
lot
where
of
you're
other
going
bands
here, and
that
I'm
sound
totally
like them.
agreeing. I'm totally
Yeah.
agreeing. Yeah.
So, contrary, when you get songs that have that R&B influence, like Hush, Only Sad, you get something where there's electronic influences, Sick, We Always, I think Hush to an extent as well, Only Sad, that suddenly when you throw these extra elements in, this band has swagger, is what it comes down to. I mean, King of Pop especially too, I think is an incredible example of
I
that,
need to spend
where
more
I think
time with that song because I remember that being like a solid song that I just don't remember very much about.
one of the lyrics, at least if I remember correctly, I don't have them pulled up, but it stuck with me when I listened to it earlier, was that, it's like, "I'm irreplaceable," is what's sung, and it's just like, "Alright, talk your shit." Like, let the people know. Um and that when they lean into that more, because obviously like there's a lot of R&B influence on his vocals in general, but the styling, especially stylistically, Hush is I think the best example of that. That when they lean into that, when they throw in the electronic elements, even if it's something shorter like having a higher pitched vocal support in the chorus, I'm a whore for that shit. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I mentioned with it when we talked about Of Mice and Men, when it was like, oh, I want the audio clip. I want the higher pitched electronic vocals supporting it in the background. Give me that shit all day, every day. I'll eat it up. I
You
I
know,
got that. I got that. And I dude, do not follow eat it up with the yo. You
Oh.
gotta be kidding me.
no. I was gonna say something.
Oh, hit me with it.
I was gonna
I
say
thought you were telling me to
you're
talk
making
my shit. You were like, eat it
no.
up. Yo.
No, I
Oh
was gonna
man.
say you are making me want to listen to this album again, like with a different perspective. Like I wanna go back and I'm like actively like, oh damn, you're selling it to me right now.
Good. Good. I can't believe I'm the one selling you on a Varsity album. I
Yeah,
didn't like
Justin,
the
come on.
singles. What's happening? How did we get here? What the fuck? But no, I really enjoyed this, and I would agree that I think
a 14-track album can be done and has been done well. I think that there may be a little too much on here that the sound on some of those earlier singles, Finesse, probably, I think. Soul work. Soul and Closer work in the context of the album. I don't like him as much, but if you're looking for that personality, that swagger, I think absolutely you should include those. I think that it's cohesive in a lot of the messaging and the way that it's put across. It's just I think that some tracks are stronger than others, and unless it's done really, really well, I will always prefer a 10-track album to a 14-track album. Like, it just is what it is. We haven't mentioned anything about it yet. I want to give a shout out to the closer, 11 a.m., which, you know, brings things a little bit slower, more acoustic and mellow, and gets a little more personal with the lyrics. That I thought was really well done, and honestly a really, really good closer.
I really enjoyed that as a closer. It's not one that I went back to.
I saved it. Fuck that.
But
No, I wasn't expecting a closer to work that well like that, because Finesse for me didn't stand out as like an outstanding opener type of thing, so I didn't know what to expect, but I thought it did a really good job of wrapping up the album for me.
Yeah, generally a lot of like piano ballad closers don't do much for me, but 11
Honestly,
a.m.
I
is
love
one
that
of the
shit.
11 a.m. Usually, if you have a piano ballad closer, you need it to build up into like the rock. Like you need to bring the guitars and drums back in by the final chorus to sell me.
Yeah.
Just like a straight 4-minute piano ballad usually doesn't do much for me, but this one kind of worked for me. I enjoyed it. Not one that I revisited all that much compared to the other
And
singles.
that I'm throwing the callback to "Do You Feel Okay" by Picturesque, because the closer on that album was "Day by Day," and that is like to date probably one of my favorite closers I've ever
And that
heard.
was one of the like 2 songs on that album I didn't like, so my point stands.
Man. But anyway, yeah, I guess I think that there's a lot of variety here. Sometimes it doesn't work, but for the most part it does. And for an album that I came into feeling that I was 0-4 on singles and losing interest, this has entirely sold me on being able to say I am a VRSTY fan, and I'm overall really, really happy with this album.
I'm also I said a lot negative about this album, but I'm really happy with it as well. It's not the top 10 album of 2021 that I thought it could be, but it's still really solid album. It would be in the borderline like probably.
2022.
Well, no, this was supposed to release. It was supposed to release last year.
All right.
Yeah.
No, that's
it was supposed to release in November, and then got delayed. If it released in November, like I was nervous that this album's gonna get delayed to January, like what happened to Anna's Okay in 2020. Where it's gonna get delayed to the next year and then not make the top 10. But I think hearing it now, I don't think it would have outdone my top 10 of 2021. So it being delayed is not the end of the world for me. This is only marginally behind Set Your Sails as my 3rd favorite album of the month. Marginally. And for how much like negative I had to say, that might come as a surprise, but that's more so just me being critical in the sense of I had very high expectations that weren't met for my taste.
I got you. Yeah, and meanwhile I had
no
no
you had the
expectations,
opposite.
and then I get to give it praise.